Millennials weren't neglected like we were, Gen X. They were curated. If Gen X grew up in a desert, millennials grew up in a greenhouse where the temperature was regulated to a micro degree by a Gen X parent with a clipboard and a lot of unaddressed trauma. Yeah. Sorry, millennials. We messed you up. Every feeling was validated before it was even felt. Every failure was intercepted. Every emotion was explained by an adult before it could actually even resolve itself. And now we, the Gen X latchkey parents, look at you and wonder why your anxiety rates exploded. But here's the truth. We did this. We were so terrified of the silence that we grew up with that we choked you to death with our presence. I mean, we turned safety into a prison of our own making. Millennials, Gen X, by the end of this episode, I'm going to give you the Millennial Rebuild Protocol. It's time to learn the one thing that we accidentally stole from you: the ability to be okay when things are definitely not okay. Plant that thought. In the 90s and 2000s, parenting shifted from don't get arrested to self-esteem at all costs. We gave you participation trophies because we were still bitter about the ones we didn't get, damn it. And then we entered into the era of achievement inflation and 9/11 collective trauma, which turned the world into a permanent threat state. And guys, this is all science-based. The Padilla-Walker study in 2012, research on helicopter parenting. Well, they found that when parents are overly involved in negotiating their child's life, the child develops lower school engagement and increased risk-taking, especially in dangerous areas, because they never actually had to learn to self-regulate before. They don't even know what is dangerous half the time because they've never went through anything. And I mean, this leads to that whole, self-esteem movement trap, if you will. Research by Gene Twenge, who talked about the narcissism epidemic. I mean, they showed that while we boosted millennial self-esteem, we actually didn't boost their self-competence. I mean, we told you that you were special. We told you that everything you did was good. I mean, we were hanging up your macaroni art on the fridge and it sucked. We told you were great singers and you couldn't carry a tune. But we didn't give you the tools to handle a world that, spoiler alert, doesn't think you're special at all. We're sorry. I mean, we are so sorry. We thought we were loving you. We were actually just using you to heal our own childhood loneliness. I mean, we weren't helicoptering you because we didn't trust you. We weren't helicoptering you because we trusted you. We did it because we didn't trust the world outside, because we've seen it. We lived in it by ourselves most of the time. And here's the neurological cost of being saved, right, by your parents or anyone, quite frankly. When a parent intercepts a stressor, the brain's PFC, right? We've talked about this before. Your sort of logical and regulatory system, right? Your executive system's functioning sort of hub, right? Your prefrontal cortex. The problem is when someone always saves you and they always intercept stressors, you never actually get reps in, right? The prefrontal cortex atrophies. And what does this mean? What's the translation? Well, it means you have undertrained regulation. Resilience isn't a personality trait. It's really a muscle. And if you never experience optimally challenging stress, what happens is you have this thing, the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex, right? And basically, this is a system that monitors conflicts, errors, things like this. Well, what happens for you guys is your PFC atrophies, your ACC becomes hypersensitive, right? And I mean, you have this threat detection glitch basically. And it's really because, I mean, you were never allowed to fail in small ways, right? So basically, what happens is your brain treats a mean email with the same physiological intensity as Gen X treated a Cold War nuclear drill. I mean, this is hypersensitive threat detection. That's not good. Just a little mean email. Guys, what about distress tolerance by Lero et al. In 2010, right? Studies show that millennials actually have significantly lower distress tolerance, which, is the ability to withstand negative emotional states, right? And when you can't tolerate the sting of a bad day, I mean, what happens is you move into something called chronic rumination, right? And then if you look at the PFC amygdala gap, right, the prefrontal cortex and the gap with the amygdala, right? In Gen X, the PFC is a cold dictator, right? But in millennials, the amygdala is a screaming toddler that the PFC is constantly trying to reason with using therapy speak. It doesn't work. You can't reason with the fire alarm. You can't reason with, I guess, what Freud would call your id, the amygdala. Once it goes full tilt, it's too late. And what all this created is really the most anxious generation of all time. I mean, you're the most therapy positive generation in history. And guys, that is a great thing. That is a great thing because therapy is really important. But the problem is with you guys, we went too far. It's created a dependency risk, really. There's this validation trap that all of you guys are stuck in because we ruined you. We're sorry. I mean, you don't feel like a feeling is real until it's been validated by a peer, a therapist, right? Or an Instagram infographic. I mean, this is identity confusion to the 10th degree, right? And I mean, guys, we get it. You're living in a culture right now that is burning you out because you were raised to believe your potential was infinite, right? And you believe that resting, chilling out, just taking it easy is failure, right? You aren't lazy. You were just paralyzed by the weight of expectations we put on you while we were busy making sure you had enough orange juice boxes. I mean, Gen X was probably the worst set of parents ever. We had no idea what we were doing. I mean, I don't know. Actually, are any parents good? Let's be honest. The boomers didn't do a great job letting us sort of raise ourselves either. You see the problems. And then there's data from 2017 on, iGen and millennials. And the data shows a massive spike in internalizing disorders, right? You aren't acting out like Gen X. Sorry. Yeah. You're acting in. You're imploding, right? You're keeping it all in until you burst. I mean, guys, you seek reassurance to lower anxiety, right? Well, reassurance prevents the brain from learning resilience. Anxiety increases. Repeat until 3 a.m. doom scrolling. I mean, that's what we're going for here. I mean, that's what we're getting here. Millennials, your Gen X parents are sorry. Like I've said 20 times today. I mean, we overparented you guys right into a little corner. We're sorry. But here is how to take your brain back. All right. This is right from a Gen Xer who is sorry. And I wasn't even as bad as most of these idiots. Like, I was actually pretty rough with my kids and making them do stuff on their own. All right. So here's what you want to do. Number one, you want to do voluntary discomfort reps. Voluntary discomfort reps. All right. So, in other words, you need to do things you're really bad at on purpose. Do things that you're bad at on purpose where no one can save you at all. Cold plunges, hard hikes, learning a skill where you will fail for the first 10 hours. It's good for you. Kids, listen, you need to prove that your ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex, right? You need to prove that failure isn't fatal to that little dude. Number two, I want you to make decisions without reassurance. Okay? Just make a choice. Just make a choice, even a small one, like, where to eat. Do not ask for a second opinion or look at a review. Just go. Retrain your brain to trust its own internal compass. Number three, emotional completion. Emotional completion. When you're sad or anxious, stop trying to explain it. Stop trying to validate it with therapy speak. Just sit with the physical sensation until it passes. Let the internal fire, if you will, burn out on its own. And just sit there and regulate yourself while it's going on, right? Just sit there quietly and take it in and let it dissipate. This isn't self care. This is hardcore integration. It's time to move from being managed to mastered. And guys, this is what you need to do. Millennials, this is what you need to do. You need to master your own nervous system. You need to understand that failure is not actually failure. The only time you fail is when you stop trying. Millennials, you have a level of emotional intelligence that Gen X could only dream of. I mean, I look at my kids, right? And while one of them is Gen Z, which we'll talk about in the next episode, the other one's a millennial. And this kid has got emotional intelligence out the wazoo. But intelligence without resilience is just a very high definition nightmare. It is time to take off the greenhouse glass and see that you can survive in the wind without it. In the next episode, we look at Gen Z, all right, the generation born into the digital nightmare that occupies us now, and why their struggle with compassion culture is actually a biological fight for survival. Subscribe to Planting Thoughts. I'm Mike. Plant wisely.